Do you love crystals, chakras, and the spiritual side of life? Are you wanting to develop your spiritual side in a peaceful, holistic centre? I'm TV and radio's Anne Scholes, who's best known as Queen Anne, and I've read for everybody that's everybody over the last 16 years. Do you want to come and meet me? Then come and say hello or book a reading at Angelic Bliss, number 4, Manchester Chambers, Oldham, or call us on 0161 652 3101. Don't worry if you're not local. Have a reading with me through my Facebook page. Just search for Anne Scholes Psychic Medium or go to www.annescholes.com.
Welcome to the Keep It Spiritual podcast with me, Chris Meredith. Now, I really hope you enjoyed the last episode learning all about the psychic and medium life with the beautiful Anne Scholes. Now, if you haven't had a listen, make sure you check it out after this. Now, the Keep It Spiritual podcast could not exist without you. If you want to become a patron, head over to www.patreon.com/Keep It Spiritual podcast, and this will help to support me with a little donation, and as a massive thank you, you will get exclusive content, merchandise, and much, much more. In this Keep It Spiritual episode, we are awakening our spiritual side with trusted author, speaker, healer, and poet, the beautiful Alexandra Wenman. Now, as soon as I found out about Alex, I needed to speak to her because her spirit is just so uplifting and she radiates positivity. Now, you've probably already heard of Alexandra Wenman, as she used to be the editor of Predictions magazine, and she also has her own fabulous show on YouTube called The Alexandra Wenman Show. If you've not seen it, go and check it out. This is where she interviews people on their spiritual path, and also Alex works as a healer, bringing her work with the angelic realms and light beings to many clients every single day. Now, Alex is one of the most spiritually fascinating guests I've had the pleasure to interview, as her experience with her own spiritual journey has been so inspiring. So who better to help us understand and awaken our own spiritual side? Here is Alexandra Wenman on the Keep It Spiritual podcast. Welcome to the Keep It Spiritual podcast. How are you feeling about being on the podcast?
Oh, amazing. It's a gorgeous morning. I feel so honoured to be here, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Hey, anytime. I'm so glad to have you on. So first of all, Alex, you're a trusted author, speaker, healer, and poet, and you've fast become the go-to expert for people who are awakening, and also known as the Awakener. So first of all, what is an Awakener?
I think an Awakener is somebody who probably takes you from 0 to 10,000 on your spiritual journey in about 5 seconds flat. That seems to be what I do with people. I often, most of my clients come to me via word of mouth. Before I had the YouTube and everything, I didn't do much advertising in the business. It's like spirit or the angels would just send people to me. And they'd kind of go, oh, I don't really know why I'm here. And then I would just kind of tune in and go, well, let me just tell you about what I'm picking up about your soul and who you are and what your mission is and that kind of thing. That's how my readings used to go. I don't really do readings anymore, but I am a channel, so I help people to kind of tap into their own soul energy, find their own gifts, follow their own hearts, and experience the magic of higher consciousness. So it's about bringing really aligning to our divinity, our multidimensional consciousness, and then anchoring it here. So we're creating heaven on earth. And it's actually people think, well, why do you need to do that? Why would you need that? And I think it is actually incredibly empowering to be able to open up to all your own natural intuitive gifts and senses, because then it becomes it's very empowering. It kind of puts you into more confidence, more courage. It means that you can't really be lied to. You take back the reins of your own life, and you start to realize that you're not just a passive bystander in your life. You actually have the power to begin to steer your life in a much more meaningful direction and follow your purpose and your heart and your truth. But, as we know, as you go along this path, you do get tested, and it can be difficult. It's not always smooth sailing, and I'm definitely not of the, fluffy bunny rabbits and rainbows ilk of spirituality. I kind of help people through dark nights of the soul, through shadow work. And, to me, it's all about balance. It's about both sides. There's two sides to every coin. And it's about understanding both sides of our own personal nature so that we can love ourselves more deeply. And that's what the angels say to me. It's like you know, they are an aspect of us as well, but they want us to almost walk upon the earth as though we are angels. We need to start to be more aware of our own magnificence, our own divinity, realize that every aspect of life is sacred. There is not, you're as sacred sitting on the toilet as you are, you know, going to a beautiful meditation evening. You can't not be divine. You can't be outside of that. And I've kind of been studying a lot of mathematics, like golden mean, divine proportion. I work a lot with symbolism. I have a beautiful healing system called Precious Wisdom, which is like a system of alchemy, really. And it's all about reconnecting us, realigning us with our divinity and the golden thread that links everything up. It's like that unity, that oneness. And it really is pure power. And when you start to align to that, it doesn't matter how tough things get or how difficult things are. You've always got this kind of inner rudder to keep you in your center. So you can navigate your way through anything, really. And to me, that is what it's all about. You know, we're in a very intense time on this planet right now, and it's probably only set to get a little bit more intense as we go forward, I think. So I think people need these tools now, you know, and I'm not the only one channeling stuff like this. There's a lot of people who are bringing through new systems, higher technology. I mean, it's spiritual technology at the end of the day. So that's me in a nutshell.
I love it. What a good way to think about it as well, like spiritual technology. That's great. Absolutely great. I love that, Alex. So why do you think people are awakening now more than ever?
I think this is the time on the planet that was always prophesied about, to be honest. We're amping up. We've got a lot of energy coming into the planet from cosmic rays, solar flares. We've also got something called the Schumann resonance that's amping up. Our vibration is raising. We're basically in the time of ascension, or what you might call the quickening, or if you read the Bible, it's the revelations. And it really is, we are waking up. We're remembering who we are as souls. And I believe we're coming out of a very long, sort of extended period of darkness or being asleep for a long time. And when I say asleep, it's almost like we as a collective seem to have forgotten who we are as souls. We seem to think that we're just these little human vessels. The rational mind leads. We're sitting here in a physical body in a physical world, but we've forgotten about the worlds and the realms and the magic and the energy that permeates all of existence and that exists beyond what we can see with our physical sight. And I think we chose as a collective to go into that period of darkness. It's almost like how on your personal journey as a human, you kind of, when you start the spiritual journey, it's all lovely and you're manifesting and it's gorgeous, but then you go into a period of what you might call the wilderness years, or you might experience a dark night of the soul where what you thought was your safe reference point starts to crumble around you. And you go into looking at your own shadow. And I think that's what we've just done as a collective, as a planet, as a group consciousness. We've gone into our collective shadow. And we've kind of had to do that to build the foundations. You've got to go down to go up. So it's like we've dug down into our foundations, got a foothold there, you know, come into this state of learning to grow and loving and learning from our mistakes, learning forgiveness, and now we're going to be catapulted up into the light. And we're at the very beginning of this. I mean, I actually believe the Mayan calendar, that ended. Now, it wasn't the end of the world, but what it was the end of time as we knew it. It's the end of that linear time frame. And the reason they didn't make another calendar is because we're moving from linear, rational thought into a more holographic consciousness. It's very multidimensional. I love it as 1010 as I'm talking about this. It's very multidimensional. It's like we're learning to think differently. We're realizing that nothing is linear. Time is changing, so you might feel like it's speeding up or you're running out of time. But now you might start to realize as you go through this spiritual awakening journey that you can actually bend time. You can slow time down. And this is where meditation comes in. So I feel like we're at a very exciting time on the planet where we actually have the opportunity to reach what you would call enlightenment, ascension, become the divine human, become homo luminous in your daily waking life. And you don't really need to, you know, in ancient times they would go and meditate on a mountain or, you know, go into a temple and become a priest or priestess. and go through initiations, but I think we're actually going through those initiations in our daily waking lives, just through our own kind of trials and tribulations. But we're actually, we're being offered the opportunity to reach enlightenment whilst living a normal daily human existence. And I think that's the most exciting thing about this, that we can, you can go shopping in the supermarket or sit on the bus to work and have an incredible, experience with an archangel, while you're just going about your business. You don't have to disconnect from life to do it. You can have it in daily life, which is miraculous.
Which is the best of both worlds, isn't it? I mean, and that's it.
Absolutely.
It's a gift because, you can still live, your normal life, but then you've still got access, like you were saying, if you do want that higher power, which is just, it's magical. It really, really is.
Oh, it's absolutely miraculous. Chris, I always say, I always tell people I'm my own guinea pig because I kind of go through these experiences. I've had really physical, tangible, embodied visions with angels and beings of light. And, I do a bit of mediumship and stuff like that, but I'm more channel kind of, I guess, higher consciousness beings, galactic beings and angelics and my own divine nature. I'm very connected with my higher self. So it's all about higher consciousness, really. And I go through something and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on with me? And, I had an experience nearly the last year, since May. I've been having a lot of electrical charges and things going through my body. And precious wisdom it's a healing system, but it's also, I did say, spiritual technology. It's about harnessing free energy. It's what they use to power the Great Pyramid. It's actually quantum physics. And last night I got shown, you're being made really uncomfortable. It's like I can't be around any EMF. I'm feeling all the electrics in my house. But they said you're learning electrokinesis. And it was all about power. So I believe that our nervous system is able to hold divine electricity. And we are, like human batteries, there is an energy that permeates this entire universe. We don't need to be, abusing our planetary resources to create electricity and power. We have access to it all around us. It's what makes the oceans rise and fall. We don't need to plug our human body into a socket to animate ourselves. So this animating principle is part of a sort of divine electricity, and that's what Archangel Metatron is. He's the divine electron, and it's the human at the highest level of divine spiritual attainment that can actually activate this. So I sort of feel like I'm being put through my paces with it because it's been very uncomfortable. It's physically not fun to have all this electricity going through my body and not being very aware of what to do with it. and then last night, after months and months and months of I was phoning UK power networks, trying to find out if we had a leak of electricity in our house. I thought, is it 5G? I'm being barraged here. It's really uncomfortable. I'm trying to do my job. And I think part of it has been also my rising sensitivity and kind of Kundalini awakening. And then last night I cried my eyes out because I got the information, and they sort of came in and said, you're learning to conduct it. You're a conduit. You're learning to work with this electricity. And I've been shown I am like a mad scientist. I've been shown a sort of a little device that I'm going to build that will help to offset EMF in people's homes and will also help to sort of amplify healing energy, bring it to a beautiful neutrality, but it will also be like free electricity. And people are already creating some of these generators, but mine will be different because it doesn't need to be plugged in anywhere. It's going to run off the precious wisdom attunement that I have. It runs off your human body, like your own telekinetic energy. And it's bonkers because I'm not a scientist. I never studied science. I think I must be remembering it from a past life or something. But I mean, it's absolutely crazy. I've woken up this morning after months of feeling knackered. And suddenly I've got all this energy. It's like I'm bouncing off the walls. I think it's because I've sort of processed it, but now it's about, putting it into practice, and it's all going to go in my book. I'm writing a book about this at the moment, but it will all go into sort of a book and a little manual that people can understand it in layman's terms, because most people aren't scientists and don't get that lingo, and I don't really get that language either. But it's, it's very interesting because there's a lot of people having these sort of downloads and these insights about, it's ancient technology. They used it in Egypt, they used it in Atlantis. Nikola Tesla brought it back more recently. But it's, I think it's all about money and power and control that we haven't been accessing it, because if it's free energy, you can't make money off it, can you? So,
and that's probably part of the problem, isn't it? Maybe they already know that it's there, but obviously because they can't monetize it, that's the reason why, not much has really probably been done with it. But go you for doing that. I mean, good luck with that, Alex. It sounds very, very exciting and something I never even heard of. So this is what I love doing about this podcast, is because, I'm sat here at home, but I'm learning so much more than I normally ever would. So it's fascinating. I absolutely love it. I mean, for yourself there, you touched on it, Alex, as well. So it's very important for you, to normalize the conversation about spirituality. I mean, why is that important to you?
Well, I think that, we're expanding in our consciousness. We're becoming aware that we are so much more than who we think we are. And there are so many people on the planet having unexplainable experiences now. And what can happen to you when you start going through this, I mean, I've been through this myself, is it's a bit like coming out of the spiritual closet. You start to feel very fearful, and you become quite afraid of, well, are people going to understand what I'm going through? Are people going to treat me differently, or shun me, or be afraid of what I have to share? And actually, it's part of our own divine blueprint. It's our own natural divine blueprint to have these experiences. We've only been using a very tiny portion of our consciousness, as people. We've been very locked into this kind of almost shut down sleep mode. So I think it's important that we open to the conversation now, because the unknown is becoming known and people don't really know what to do with it. So I think it's important that we stop being afraid of what we don't know, and we start opening the conversation and talking about these weird and wonderful things that are happening, so that we can support each other through it. I have clients all the time that come to me with very strange things going on in their lives, and they have no rational or logical reference point to kind of make sense of it, and that can be scary for them. But it's even scarier when you feel like you can't talk to your friends and family about it, and you don't have support. So this is one of the reasons that I started my YouTube channel, because even though we talk about higher consciousness concepts, and I'm in no way talking about dumbing down our language. I'm not going to dumb down what I'm talking about, or the multidimensional or ascension or anything like that. I'm not going to try and put it into a 3D framework. So, for example, if I'm talking about channeling, I'm not going to dumb it down and call it mindfulness. Mindfulness is an amazing tool, but it's not what I do. I actually have these incredible multidimensional divine sort of reveries that I wouldn't call in any way, shape or form even meditation. So it's about looking at that holographic nature of the soul and making that normal. I want us to open to all that we are, and really, every person, every human has the capacity to open to channel. Every person, every human has the capacity to have visions and past life memories and open to their own healing abilities. And I think if we be more accepting of that, and we start to talk about it as though it is normal in a grounded way, then it becomes more acceptable and it becomes the norm. Now we have Reiki and yoga are part of our daily vocabularies. But that used to be really weird even like 10, 15 years ago. So it's all about expanding and opening and becoming the best of who we can be, really.
It is. It definitely is, Alex. So, I mean, you mentioned it a little bit as well before that, you're a light worker, you channel, and you also see, but you also offer deep healing and transformations by connecting people with their higher selves and light guides. I mean, Alex, what's been your journey to this point?
Pretty much exactly what I help others do. I could see stuff ever since I was a tiny little child, and I had amazing experiences, mostly with angelic beings, but I also had experience of telepathy when I was a child. I could speak telepathically to animals and to insects, particularly beetles for some reason, very, very cute little beetles and cicadas and things. And then I went through, many years of the school system kind of shutting me down and trying to fit in. And then in my 20s, I moved to London I went through a very painful dark night of the soul, very painful awakening. My mediumship switched on. I felt very frightened because I was only 21 and I didn't really have that many friends over here. And I was feeling very sensitive, and I started having panic attacks too, because the energy here was so much more dense than it was in Australia. Australia has a very clear, high energy. But over here, and especially in London, there's a lot of history here, and I was feeling all those layers of history. Many years later, I think it was last year, I discovered that I had a past life when I was brutally murdered here. And so as soon as I set foot in London, and especially East London, I was feeling, I think, that terror in my body for many years, and I didn't know how to clear it, and I didn't realize I had to clear it until really recently. I didn't know what I was feeling. So all of this energy rising on the planet can kind of sift to the surface stuff that's been hidden from our awareness, and you might be experiencing emotions. You know, we're sentient beings, so we feel first and foremost. That's where my work starts, is if someone's having emotional experiences or their emotional overwhelm and they don't know why, and it doesn't connect to anything that's happened in this life, or, you know, not to that degree, we can go in and find the root cause of that emotional upset and find out why. So I can actually see people's past lives. I can see their childhood. I can see if there's any stuck or trapped energies in the energy field. And this was my whole journey. I learned how to do this for myself, partly through healing courses and partly through, I was editor of Prediction magazine for 4 years, so I studied everything spiritual as part of my job for a long time. And, you know, I kind of, like I said, I'm the guinea pig, so I tried everything out on myself. I went on a crazy healing journey to heal myself, to awaken myself, and I do eat, sleep, and breathe this path, really. It's my passion and my purpose. So anything I can do to help others, I will. And I'm very naturally curious. So if there's something I don't know, I will make it my business to find out.
That's what we want. That's what we want. If we don't know, we know that you will know. Absolutely love that, Alex. So you also, on YouTube, you have the Alexandra Wenman show. I mean, tell us what that's about.
So the show is where I interview other experts in the field, and I sort of love getting everyone's perspective on what's going on the planet at the moment. So that's always one of my questions, you know, what in your opinion is going on right now? But I just love hearing people's stories. I'm a storyteller naturally. I love finding out, like, about people's awakening and what they've been through and all this weird, wonderful, you know, experience that a lot of us are going through as sensitives and light workers. So most of the people I interview are light workers, even if they're undercover light workers. You know, I've even interviewed a guy who's a chocolate taster by trade. We call him the real life Willy Wonka, but he's actually does automatic writing, and he's a natural medium, and he's quite an incredible soul. So, and another guy was like a hip hop yogi, and he does like hip hop and rap in America, but he's really into higher consciousness. So I get to kind of speak to all these really cool people, and it's about kind of, I guess, opening the door, letting people step out the closet. There's no conversation on my show that's off limits. We talk about everything from, you know, spirit, fairies, galactic beings, angels, you know, you name it. There's no topic that I will say, oh, we don't go there on this show. We go everywhere on my show.
Which is great. That's what you want, isn't it? You want that. People want that. Of course they do.
Yeah, I want it open, and I want it acceptable, and I want it fun, really.
And which it is fun, which it really, really is fun. And also, you know, you've written the powerful book, The Poetry of Light. I mean, it's so beautiful. It's such a unique, healing book. It's all right. It's so healing as well. With it, what was your inspiration for the book?
Well, my poetry's been coming through me ever since I was a little child. I've written ever since I was about 4 years old, and when I was working for magazines, it sort of closed down for a little bit because I had to write articles and things and write for other people. And in 2015, after I got married, I kind of felt like I was falling in love with myself a little bit. I'd always been very hard on myself. Suddenly I went into this self-love, and my poetry switched back on again. And then all the all the experiences and reveries that I have and the way I see the world comes through me. It doesn't come from me, it more comes through me. I just feel like I'm a conduit for these words. I'll hear them and I'll feel them, and they'll just pour out on the page. So I released a book prior to that one called Poems of Precious Wisdom, which was all about my journey of channeling precious wisdom, and very painful journey as well, because between 2012 and sort of now, I have been on a major journey down through my own personal underworld and then back up out into the light. And it is a bit like that path. Most people will go through it at some point, and I wanted that to be like a poetical handbook to help people through that, so they know they're not alone, so they know that other people are going through it, and actually it can help to acknowledge your emotions rather than try and bottle them up. But the Poetry of Light's the next kind of one up from that I released at the end of last year, and it's much more kind of light-filled, and it's all about higher consciousness, and it's all about the miraculous and who we are as souls, and the beauty of the beauty of our true nature. So I wanted that one to be a little bit more inspiring, still very healing, but a little bit more uplifting. But they're kind of, I see them as poetical oracles. You know, you can do a bit of bibliomancy and ask for like a message of the day, flick through the book and let it fall open at a random page, and the poem that you get will be like your message of the day. So I quite like that.
That's good. That's really good. But it's nice to do that. But what a positive way to start your day as well.
Yeah, it's kind of good. I like to read them before I start a workshop or a reading or healing for people, so they get a bit of inspiration as well.
Well, you mentioned there as well about the healing. I mean, you offer one-to-one healing sessions and packages through your glorious website. I mean, what could a listener expect from a healing session with you, Alex?
Well, the way I work with people is very bespoke to them. No two healings are the same. I will usually start feeling the person's energy from the moment they book. Sometimes I dream about my clients the night before, which is always interesting for me, especially if they're going through a hard time.
I bet.
That's always fun. And then, because I'm very clairsentient as well, from the moment they sit in that chair, I will start feeling their emotions, and even the emotions that they can't get to. I'm very good at distinguishing what's mine and what's not mine. And also, if a person is experiencing emotions that are more linked to the collective rather than their own, we can distinguish that as well. So I'll start feeling and seeing, and sometimes it's just a straight channeling, like their guides might come through and want to give them a channeled message, which is also a healing in and of itself. Sometimes I do psychic surgery. I can see trapped energies in the body and I can just pull them out. But most of the time it's quite linear to begin with. We'll have a chat about where they're experiencing blocks or if there's something they want to manifest. And that's anything, mind, body, spirit, physical, mental, emotional. And then we sort of look at if there's a pattern that we need to break or a karmic cycle we need to clear. We can look at oaths, vows and contracts they've had, trapped beliefs, trapped emotions. If there's any, negative energies hanging around in their energy field, we can clear that. It's all very, very holographic, again, very multidimensional experience. But I find I have really rapid results with people, and I've had people kind of say, oh, you got rid of that, that arthritic pain in my foot. I've had people walk out, with pain that they've experienced for years, and it's just gone after a session. So I like to work quickly. I don't like to kind of pussyfoot around. I think we can get in and clear stuff faster so that you don't need to be, lying on a therapy couch for half your life to try and clear just one program. I think it's time now that we sort of get in. And I think the key to healing as well, it's not so much about banishing or getting rid of stuff. It's more about coming into a loving acceptance of whatever's going on. And then what happens is that transmutes it. So oftentimes it's just our awareness that allows us to have really, really deep healing. If we can, connect to our trapped emotions, like if you're feeling trapped grief or trapped anger or, even shame or guilt, instead of blocking it and suppressing it, if you let it up, you let yourself feel it within a safe environment and you kind of yield into it or lean into it, and connect to it with love, usually that's enough to begin to just transmute that energy and then lift it away from you. It transforms it into something positive then, and you can have some really incredible very quick results with this kind of work. So
yeah, which you do, and it's so positive and so uplifting as well, and completely unique to every individual. I mean, so if a listener is listening right now and they're kind of spiritually curious with all this, and they're kind of like, right, I know I want to develop, I know I want to start, opening up. Alex, where would be the best place for people to start?
The first thing I would say is, don't be afraid of anything. Don't connect to fear. We often get a little bit afraid of the unknown. I think it's about staying in trust. Instead of seeing the unknown as something that's infinitely in the dark, see it as infinite light. See it as shedding light on more and more of yourself. I think meditation is a great place to start, and breathing, really connecting into your heart, feeling your feelings. We block and bottle up our feelings as humans, and we also are quite mean to ourselves in our thoughts. So start being kinder to yourself, tune into your heart, feel your way through life rather than thinking, because we often there's so much, there's advertising and all different people giving us advice and telling us what to do, but actually no one knows better than you. You are your own teacher, your own guru, your own master. If you start following your heart and what feels right, as opposed to what you think you should do, the rewards will start to present themselves straight away. And you can ask for evidence. If you have a big decision to make and you're not sure which way to go, just ask your higher self, right, show me signs, bring me signs in the physical world so I know, I'm making the right choice here. And you'd be surprised. It's like having a personal joke with the universe, and you want to elbow the person next to you and go, oh, did you see that? But yeah, I think the simplest thing is self-love, and follow your heart, self-awareness, and that will lead you to the right teacher or healer or whatever for you, the next step.
It definitely will do. It definitely will. Alex, well, the last question for you, what do you love most about doing the work that you do?
What do I love most about doing the work that I do? I love that I get to work with the most beautiful people. I did set an intention many years ago to only be sent people I can genuinely help, the people that will genuinely be open to what I have to offer, and the people who are willing to be authentic and in their integrity. And I attract the most beautiful, empathic, sensitive souls to my workshops, and they're just lovely. They're just a joy to work with. It's not always easy work, but it's so fulfilling, that I get to see people transform in front of my eyes and find out who they are, live their magnificence. It's the most fulfilling job in the world. And even though I'm human and I get put through my paces, and my life hasn't exactly been easy, I think people appreciate that, because it's about being real. I don't think that we as healers need to be up there on a pedestal. I think that, we're down in it with you, it's like, and I think people appreciate that. And I certainly appreciate it when, most of my clients say, you're so real. And I think that's it. I'm pretty out there with my spirituality, but I'm also just a very normal Australian woman, just very down to earth and very grounded. So I think sometimes it turns their brains inside out.
Well, it does, because maybe people are expecting, just to be, this person that is, like you were saying, on a pedestal, and, I'm better than you, I'm higher than you, and they're not. They're getting someone that's equal and, and that they can relate to, which is important and is credit to yourself and, why you've been so successful, Alex. So, I mean, from me personally, and to speak to you today and hear your journey and everything, and thank you so much for being part of the Keep It Spiritual journey. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Alex.
Oh, thank you, Chris, and thank you everyone for listening.
Do you love crystals, chakras, and the spiritual side of life? Are you wanting to develop your spiritual side in a peaceful, holistic centre? I'm TV and radio's Anne Scholes, who's best known as Queen Anne, and I've read for everybody that's everybody over the last 16 years. Do you want to come and meet me? Then come and say hello or book a reading at Angelic Bliss, number 4 Manchester Chambers, Oldham, or call us on 0161 652 3101. Don't worry if you're not local. Have a reading with me through my Facebook page. Just search for Anne Scholes Psychic Medium, or go to www.annescholes.com.
it was such a pleasure to hear from Alex and her own spiritual journey and how she does what she does, and now she's passed that on to us. Alex, from myself and I'm sure all the listeners, thank you very, very much for your time. So make sure you head to Alex's website, which is www.alexandrawenman.com for all her healing services, and head to that YouTube page to catch the Alexandra Wenman show. Now the time has come in the podcast that is just for you. Now to take some time to relax and listen to your intuition, or possibly meditate and start to awaken a little and take some time out of this busy, busy world. Here is a couple of minutes of meditation. I hope you enjoyed that quiet time right there of the Keep It Spiritual podcast, and you enjoyed hearing from Alexandra Wenman and her own spiritual journey and how she is now an Awakener. Now in the next episode we hear from Yorkshire's very own psychic and tarot reader, the beautiful spirit which is Inbal. Now she has such a wealth of experience in the psychic world from astrology, tarot and divination, and brings so much love and positivity to what she does. Now that's coming your way on Thursday the 12th of March, so put that in your diary. Now, if you would like to sponsor the Keep It Spiritual podcast and get your brand and services out to a worldwide spiritual audience, then email me at chriscmeredith@gmail.com for the prices. Now, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Keep It Spirit Pod, and like the Facebook page, just search Keep It Spiritual Podcast. Until the next episode, I've been Chris Meredith, and you've been listening to the Keep It Spiritual podcast.
Do you love crystals, chakras and the spiritual side of life? Are you wanting to develop your spiritual side in a peaceful, holistic centre? I'm TV and radio's Anne Scholes, who's best known as Queen Anne, and I've read for everybody that's everybody over the last 16 years. Do you want to come and meet me? Then come and say hello or book a reading at Angelic Bliss, number 4 Manchester Chambers, Oldham, or call us on 0161 652 3101. Don't worry if you're not local, have a reading with me through my Facebook page. Just search for Anne Scholes Psychic Medium, or go to www.annescholes.com.